Albert Breer, senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the Monday Morning Quarterback, joining us on the program. Albert, where you want to start?
You want a good theory on why the longer extra points mess with kickers?
Sure.
So, what I've heard from a few special teams coaches over the last few years that I think is sort of interesting is that kickers used to use the extra point to work out kinks. So if they felt something was a little off or they thought this or that was wrong, the extra point gave them an in-game opportunity to sort of work on something that wasn't that was either wrong or didn't feel quite right, within their stroke. And so you take that away from them, and now all of a sudden it sort of messes with the whole equilibrium of being a kicker, and they don't have an in-game opportunity to sort of work out things that they did before. So I don't know. That's just one theory out there that I thought was kind of interesting, and that, kicking such a mental game, and each guy used to have this outlet where he could kind of work on things, and now that outlet's been taken away.
I wish there was a deep dive, a study of kickers where you just got into their heads of what they go through, because they're really ostracized. They're not really a football player until they come into a game and they can win or lose a game. And I can't imagine Mason Crosby yesterday, that you're missing these field goals. You don't miss field goals. Then you got to go out there and kick another field goal. Just the whole mind game that is played, that kickers, play with themselves. I don't know. It's something that is probably not quantifiable in trying to understand what these guys go through every day or every week.
Yeah, and I talked to him after the game, which was interesting because I asked him about this conversation he had with Matt LaFleur. And he hadn't just missed 3 straight kicks, Dan. He'd missed kicks on 3 straight possessions, right? So the Packers had 3 possessions in a row that ended with missed field goals. And on top of that, the other kicker had missed a couple, which, just sort of, I think, would add to it, that this is just really weird. What's going on in the stadium? And LaFleur comes over to him and says, what do you think? And he said, I got this. And it wasn't a short field goal either. I think it was 49 yards. And so, I think there's this, I guess it's almost I think the best way the best thing to compare it to is being a golfer, right? Like a golfer who can compartmentalize just kind of a slump. And, you have 3-4 bad holes in a row, and somehow where the rest of us would be out there and we'd be all over the place on the 4th or 5th hole in that string. The best kickers have an ability to compartmentalize struggles, maybe the way that a good golfer does. And I think the other thing that's sort of interesting in comparing the two is just being a little bit off can mean everything is wrong, And so I just think the psychology of the kickers really, really interesting. And you think back to some of the guys like Scott Norwood, where one kick just who was a really good kicker, just basically ended his career. He never got it right after that. And then you think about a guy who's, missing kicks on 3 straight possessions, and he's playing on a team where, every loss could be one more or every loss could be one fewer game at Lambeau in January. And the pressure of that and everything else, being able to compartmentalize it, that's definitely a skill.
Yeah, with a golfer, you got to play your misses. As they always talk about, a kicker doesn't get that opportunity. If you miss, then you get another chance to go up and go, we'll be able to try that again. The worst loss yesterday was turned in by?
The worst loss yesterday. I don't think the Chiefs losing to the Bills was a bad loss per se, but I think that this is sort of reason for concern now. They've lost 3 of 5, and some of the pieces that they've brought in aren't coming together the way that maybe they'd hoped they'd had. They're older on, in some positions, with guys like Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark are getting a little bit further on in years on defense, and then younger in other positions on defense with guys like Nick Bolton. And then they've got all these new guys on the offensive line. I wonder how it's going to come together. I wonder how long it's going to take to come together, because I think anybody who's paying attention to what the Chiefs did this offseason knew it might take a little while for all of that to come together. But I don't know if they expected that they would get their doors blown off by Buffalo in week 5. And so, I just think the process in Kansas City is taking a little bit longer. I don't know. There's not like a particularly like embarrassing
I
loss.
thought the Raiders losing to the Bears, and they had a good September. We were talking about Derek
Yeah.
Carr, MVP, and now you lose to Justin Fields at home.
And let's not ignore the elephant on the couch there either. I mean, like, John Gruden going through, what he's gone through the last 3 days. And the fact that, like, I think that a lot of people across the league, not just people in the Raiders building, but people across the league were paying attention. Like, how is that team going to respond to him now? Because I mean, something like this happens. And I think the honest question for everybody in that locker room is, well, if he put that in an email, what else is he saying? And I'm not calling John a liar. I don't know, whether or not, what he's saying is genuine, that, it wasn't a racial comment and he didn't mean it that way. But I mean, there are going to be guys in that locker room who are probably asking that question. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's like in the same way, I think like we had to kind of watch not just like whether or not Jacksonville won the game yesterday, but like the effort
Yeah.
and how much fight there was. Like, I think it's fair to look at the same things with the Raiders on Sunday and kind of look at it and think, how are you going to come out of this? So, yeah, I mean, that's a disappointing loss for the Raiders. The Bears aren't a bad team, though. I think we've kind of gotten into this space where people think the Bears are a bad team, and they've been to the playoffs 2 times in the last 3 years. They're top 10 in the NFL in wins since 2018. So I don't think that's a bad team, but I do agree that, like, I think coming off of what the team was coming off of with everything that happened with Gruden on Friday and sort of the fallout the last couple of days, it was important for them to play well, and they didn't play very well.
I'm just wondering, the NFL is going to investigate, but
Mm-hmm.
how far do you investigate? Because when you start to look at email,
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of things in a lot of emails that if you start to go, I mean, how deep do you go and what do you want to find out? Because sometimes you may not want to find out certain things here. And I wonder if they suspend him, if the Raiders suspend him, how much, how heavy handed is the NFL here?
Yeah, and I don't even know, like, I don't know, like how you would go about looking through text messages. Like, can you look up text messages from 10 years
Well,
ago?
I
I
don't
don't
think you
even
could
know.
do text messages. They're
Yeah.
available from what I'm
Yeah.
told, but email, that's
Yeah.
something different than and Bruce Allen, who's on the receiving end of this,
Mhm.
he didn't push back on, John, you shouldn't say that. Like it just starts to expand a little bit. It's not just John Gruden. This
Well, and it's, I mean, it like, and honestly, like, Dan, it goes back to everything that's happened the last 4 or 5 years in the league, with Kaepernick in 2016. And then, the comments that Bob McNair made. And, I think with every one of these, the question is, if he feels comfortable saying it in setting X, what is he saying in setting Y and setting Z, And so, like, I think you're onto it, like where you say, how much do they really want to know? Do they want to are they wanting to dig through John Gruden's text messages from 2011 and his emails from 2011? And then if they find something there, are they going through other interactions? I mean, it can wind up being a never ending thing. I will say this though, I think there were, because and there's natural distrust between players in the league, right? Like that exists. It's always exists. It's just the way it is. Like I think that there were a fair number of players who looked at the way that the NFL handled everything in 2020 and liked it and thought, like, you're trying to do some good here, but still sort of wondered how much of this is just about the moment the country's in and how much of this is just about, public relations and making sure that they're not creating a problem for themselves. And so, I do know that there are at least some players, even some coaches, even some executives that like looked at the league's effort in 2020 and said, well, let's just see what happens. Let's see how they handle, some of these situations in the future. And I think some of those people are definitely looking and saying, all right, like, let's see what they do with a prominent coach. And are they willing to come down on a prominent coach in a situation like this?
if this was the NBA, what do you think happens if something was unearthed by an owner about an owner?
Okay, without having covered it, my guess would be that there would be um prominent players, like the most prominent players in the league, out front and talking about it on social media. That'd be
Yeah.
my guess, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I don't know, you've been around that stuff probably more than me, been around the NBA more than me, but my guess is you'd probably have guys like LeBron James and Kevin Durant like openly commenting on it, right?
Yeah.
And like once that happens, now we're talking about something else, because now it's, now it's sort of pitting players against the league, and the players have put the league on notice. And I think, for a league that's as rabbit-eared as the NFL is, if you had players coming out and saying something and turning it into a discussion point in their circles, like now we're talking about something else. That's like how, that's how it, happened when, that's how the Houston thing became what it became with Bob McNair, is that you had guys like Dwayne Brown and DeAndre Hopkins that, like literally were like, I don't want to play for that guy anymore. And that's how that became a bigger thing. So I think, in situations like this, the players, and I'm not just talking about the Raiders players, Dan, in situations like this, players have more power than maybe they even think they do. And that, like, if it becomes a discussion point and a public discussion point in their circles, things can wind up happening. And I think that if this was a more public discussion point with, say quarterbacks, and quarterbacks were talking about it publicly on social media, the league would probably be reacting in a little bit more of an aggressive fashion.
He's Albert Breer, the Monday Morning Quarterback, senior NFL reporter. The Jags lose to the Titans. They've got a game in London coming up, and then they have a bye week. Where are we headed? What happens during that bye week, if anything, to Urban Meyer?
I still think that the intention is to go forward with him as the head coach. However, I know this, like, part of the reason they hired Urban in the first place is because I think Shad Khan to some degree was embarrassed with the results that he'd gotten, and was embarrassed with the direction of the franchise, and had sort of recognized, I've got too many things that have been a certain way in this organization, and I need to bring in a change agent and have someone in here who's going to shake the whole place up. And so, I think, like, kind of like feeling that his organization was regarded a certain way in 2020 is why Urban Meyer is there in 2021, because he wanted to change things. Now there's another reason now for him to feel like, his franchise is being viewed that way. They invested deeply in Urban Meyer, Dan. Like when Urban went there, the conditions were, I need staff, and not just coaching staff, but support staff. Shad did all of that. I need a practice facility. I need a first-class practice facility. They're building a $150 million practice facility. So they're deeply invested in Urban Meyer. That's why it's hard for me to see them pulling the plug. But that was a pretty strong statement that he put out there. And so I think, being on that national stage, even though it's a London game, but being like in that standalone game in that spot, I think it's an important spot for Urban Meyer. And I think that they have to at least play well in that spot, and for him to sort of, I think, cool things off a little bit there. My guess is that, I think Urban's got too much pride to walk away this early. And you remember, like, when he walked away at Florida and Ohio State was after a whole lot of success. And I think that, Shad Khan, given his druthers, wants to see this through. But a lot of this, and Urban's right when he says this, a lot of this rides on how the locker room, decides to handle it, and whether or not they remain engaged going forward. And I think, the trip to London, historically, if you look at it, because it's hard going over there, has sort of shown us where coaches stand over the years.
Yeah, I think you bring up the great point, and that's effort. If the team continues to at least try, give effort on the field, that's one thing, that they don't quit on him. I'll leave you with this. The odds of Trayvon Diggs winning the NFL Defensive Player of the Year.
I think he's got a chance. I just think that at that position is so hard. Like, Darrelle Revis never won it. Jalen Ramsey hasn't won it. Like, we're talking about great, Revis is a Hall of Famer. Ramsey's trending that way. And you know what the hard thing about it is, Dan, is the statistics, is that he's got 6 picks now, but what happens when teams start throwing away from him, And so I think he's got a really good shot to be first team All Pro. But the question becomes, if he has, say, just 1 or 2 picks over his last 10 games, which could mean he's playing fantastic and no one's throwing at him.
Yeah.
Like, then I think too many of the voters are going to look at that and say, well, wait a second, like, can we give the award to somebody who wasn't making plays in the ball in November and December, even though that can be a symbol of how well a corner is playing.
But he's playing for the Cowboys.
That's true. Yeah.
You got to factor that in. They didn't have any
but
defense.
Revis never won it.
I know.
I mean, that's crazy. Think about that. Darrelle Revis never won it. Like it's just, I think it's hard for guys at that position to do it, you know?
But Stephon Gilmore won it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So
he's got a shot. He's got a shot, Dan. He's got a shot. I would just say, like, if you look at Stephon Gilmore, the other thing that Gilmore had going for him, that was a really good secondary that he was a part of in New England, right? And so it was harder to throw away from Stephon Gilmore in New England than maybe it was to throw away from Darrelle Revis in New York, or Champ Bailey, who was a great player for a lot of years. Hard to throw away from Champ Bailey for a lot of years in Denver. Or easier to throw away. Easier to throw away. Yeah. Like, I think with Trayvon Diggs, it's going to be a little easier for teams to kind of work around throwing at him versus what it was for, say, Steph Gilmore in 2019.
You're a buzzkill, man. You're a buzzkill. Buzzkill Breer. That's what they're calling it.
So you're rooting for Trayvon then?
No, I just look for impact players. That defense was one of the worst that we've seen in NFL history. Micah Parsons has been a godsend for them, but you have somebody who's changing games out of nowhere. And a second-round pick, good story.
He's spectacular, too. That's the one thing that will help him.
Yeah.
Like, spectacular from, like, a highlight player. So I'm with you on that. Like, I hope he keeps making plays like this because it's fun to watch. I don't know. I think what often happens, I'm just telling you, I think what often happens with corners is, teams start throwing away from them.
Good to talk to you, Albert.
Sorry to kill the buzz.
That's all right. Usually it's the guys I work with that kill my buzz, but it's you today. Albert, thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, Dan.
That's Albert Breer. He is the senior NFL reporter, the Monday Morning Quarterback.